This John Lothian News video is sponsored by the securities and derivatives markets are all looking at the issue of transparency. John Lothian News spoke to 15 different market professionals at the FIA Expo event in Chicago about solutions to improve transparency in clearing, exchanges, regulation, and technology.
But transparency has also come about with the integration of SDR, swap data repository. As you know, any swap that is executed that is a mandated swap, a MAT swap as we call it is going to be reported in real time to the SDR. Most firms that are now very focused on those markets have access to that data.
Collecting all this data is now proving very valuable in terms of looking at the global consistency across the data from the various jurisdictions towards the goal of how we transform this data into information. We're uniquely positioned to be able to present back to regulators where the opportunities are for harmonization on the global front so that we can really get back to the G20 Pittsburgh commitment around establishing a framework that's going to enable them to access the data and really to do that on a global scale.
We as PTG believe that we encourage lit markets. We believe that they're the most transparent means of people interacting with each other in products and securities. Why not have that kind of level of transparency that exists on exchanges at dark pools as well? Why shouldn't we be able to understand how the matching engine works, what the fee schedules are, how various order types interact with each other?
Well, there's currently a debate about the auction processes that take place on the exchanges and whether they are as transparent as they could be. And it centers around the fees that are charged to different participants depending on whether they start the auction or whether they enter the auction. Ultimately, it's wrapped around the issue of payment for order flow, and we believe that's always been an area ripe for more transparency. So there's a good debate taking place, again, very publicly, giving everybody a chance to give their views. Ultimately, the goal needs to be that the customer's order is getting the best price possible. And that's achieved by having these discussions and trying to have as fair a process, as transparent a process as possible. So more transparency on how order flow is routed to exchanges. What's received in return for the routing of flow? These are things that we believe will help improve the marketplace for everybody.
So FIA has on its own tried to gather the rules of clearinghouses around the world. So we're starting a CCP risk project, we call it, in which we try to look at CCPs across various rule books to understand from CCP to CCP what the rules might be. The reason we like this, it helps us to understand what our exposures might be from CCP to CCP, but it also makes sure that people are living up to the best practices around the globe.
There are clearing systems today in place that can provide clearing information immediately post the trade, basically real-time clearing. Most markets today in the Western world are still in a T+1 to T+3 basis. Adding real-time clearing information to market information and trading and order information can provide all the information necessary for quality integrity.
I think the best way to do that is to provide customers with tools, not just the clearing members, but also the end user customers with tools that can help them evaluate the risk.
If the markets are compelled to show their information about how they implement their substructures, then they'll necessarily need to compete based on the quality of the equipment they use, the quality of the networks, the way that their market structure is put together such that the fairness of the orders can be guaranteed.